Hi all, my name is Stacy and I am the mixed media encaustic artist behind Studio Stacy, which means you can find me in my studio most days painting with wax and a torch. I have recently fallen in love with knitting and crocheting while also listening to audiobooks. And that brings me to this week's video. I've decided that I wanted a physical place to keep track of all of the books I'm consuming and the projects I'm working on. And while I really didn't need another journal, I can barely keep up with all of the journals that I already have. I decided that I wanted another journal. I also thought that maybe you'd like seeing how I set this journal up. So if any of this sounds like your cup of tea, consider subscribing. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy today's video. Before we jump into setting this journal up, I thought I would just show you the supplies real quick. This is just a plain old notebook, but in this notebook it has some washi tape that I've made. I don't know if I ever did a video on this. This was forever ago now. Various different colors of washi tape, some stamped washi tape, little speech boxes, bubbles, some arrows. That might be it, yeah. So some handmade washi tape and things like that. And then I also have some random store-bought washi tape. I have no idea where these are from now. This, if I can get the camera to focus on it. Maybe. Oh boy. There we go. This washi tape, yeah, I did just buy, and it's a 5-star rating washi tape, which you'll see what I'm going to use this for in a bit. So this, anything that I can find on these supplies, I'll link down below in the description box. So this will be down there. I think I know where I got this journal from, so that'll also be down there. And then I have, as far as pens go, I have some Micron pens. These are Aqua markers, a few different colors. I don't know if I'm going to use these or not. Then I have, this is a Zebra Sarasa, I believe is how you say it, pen. I'll try to get a close-up of this so you can see the brand of it. I have just a mechanical pencil, an eraser just in case. And then I have my ATG Scotch excuse me, tape runner, and I have this out because I printed out a few things that I've already cut apart, so you'll be seeing me use these in the journal. I know what I want to do with these. These are pages I knew I wanted to create. Ooh, sorry about that shadow there. Can't do much about it. I have these, there we go, maybe mild liner highlighters. So I'll link those down below too. I have just my random notes on different pages I wanted to set up in the journal. And then I have some gel pens, various different colors. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be using all of this stuff, but that is the basic supplies there. All right, now getting back to setting this journal up, sticking you back in overhead mode and voiceover Stacy now coming at you probably for the rest of this video. Now, this journal does not have page numbers on it, so I did go through and number all of the pages ahead of time, and I set up a table of contents here just in pencil, and you're going to see me inking over it. And I also brought out a metal ruler, although later on in the journal, you'll see I don't use this really. I just kind of freehand trace over these lines because you'll see shortly I also, yeah, see right there, the ruler likes to move on me. So I quickly decided that the ruler was not needed and to just freehand these lines. So what I'm going to do here is set this journal up probably in a fairly quick time-lapse mode, jumping in from time to time to explain a few things. But then later on in the video, at the end of the video, I will go back through and do a flip through and walk you through each page. So stay tuned for that. And here you'll see I'm using that highlighter to highlight every other row in the table of contents. And you'll see me do this a few other times throughout the journal. But that way I know it just helps me keep the lines straight as I'm filling them in later on down the road. All right, and now it's time to tape in those pages that I had printed out. And again, I will walk you through the entire journal towards the end of this video. So if some of this writing is a bit blurry, don't worry. I will make sure that's all cleared up towards the end of the video and get you some better shots of all of the pages. And I did start out with the reading portion on this journal. And then eventually I'll get to the knitting and crochet, kind of dividing it up into two different sections. I'm also using the same color key for all of the books, depending on what genre of book it is. So you'll see me using these highlighters for that. And I'm really liking these highlighters so far. They're very nice. They have two tips, a chisel end and a pointed end. And yeah, I'm really enjoying using them. Now, I said at the beginning of this video that I wanted a physical place to keep track of the books and projects. And in the meantime, though, I had been keeping track of all of my books on an app and a desktop program called Goodreads. And so I'm referring back to that to reference back the books I've already read here in January and February. All right, here you'll see I've gotten out that washi 5-star rating tape. And as you can see, these stars are very, very small, but they also fit very nicely in between the dotted lines on this dotted journal. So I just wanted to make sure to point that out to all of you. I am going to link it down there below, but just know that the stars are very small. I did manage to be able to color them in for the ratings, but just, a word of, I guess, caution, warning. I really liked how it looked and how it fits into the lines nicely, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. And here you'll see I've decided to jazz up some of these pages with some of that store-bought washi tape that I've had for years. Unfortunately, I have no idea where or when I got it. So up next, I am switching over to those Aqua markers, and I really liked how they came out on these pages. And there was no bleed through on the other side of the paper. So that's good news, or the other side of the page. As you'll see, I flipped over there just to double check that. If for some reason there is something that I don't think really worked out, a particular supplier or material, I will definitely let you know. But yeah, everything seems to be going quite nicely. And up next is going to be the knitting portion of this journal. So skipping ahead several pages to the knitting portion. Knitting and crochet, I should say. All right, I'm going to let you sit back and enjoy watching me set up the rest of this journal, and I will pick you back up in just a few to do the final flip through of it. Hope you enjoy. as promised, here's the final kind of journal flip through. I'm going to try to hold the camera steady but get you some close-ups of everything. So here we go. Here is the cover page to the entire journal, and this is one of my favorite authors, Georgia O'Keeffe, and a quote from her that I thought was pretty fitting for the journal. And then we get into the table of contents here. And you can see I have left some blank pages in between some of these, and I'll show you why in a bit here as I get into them. So I also forgot to fill in some of these project pages that I have filled out, which you'll see shortly as well. So then I have a couple blank pages for more table of contents just in case I need it. And then this is going to be my start of the reading section, which I haven't done the reading cover yet. Maybe I'll do a video when I decide to do that, which will hopefully be sooner than later. Okay, and then this page you saw me working on. And this is going to be kind of books that I read from various different states in the United States. And then as I read them, I'm adding them over here to the list. So for example, The House of Eve was based in Washington, D.C., which I don't have Washington, D.C. on the map, but so that might be a bad example right away. But at any rate, here we go. Tom Lake, that was based in Michigan. So if we pan over to the map, you'll see I colored in Michigan, and I colored it in a gray highlighter, and the gray is contemporary fiction. So you'll see, you know, as I go throughout, hopefully in the next several years or what have you, this map will get filled in. And then I also have Missouri, West Virginia, and Virginia colored in, and these were all historical fiction books. So that's that page. And then the next couple pages are, well, completely kind of blank maps, but I really want to do like kind of around the world, traveling around the world. If you know me, you know I love to travel, except due to my autoimmune, we're not flying a whole lot. So I thought it would be fun to kind of quote unquote experience these countries in books. So I have a lot of countries listed here. As you'll see, here is Africa and the countries in Africa. Again, all completely blank still. And then continuing to flip. Same thing for Russia, China, the Middle East, the UK, and Europe. Australia is also in here. So I have a lot of reading to do, or maybe listening to do, but I'm looking forward to it. And doing some research kind of based, you know, what books are based in these countries and what I might want to look into reading. So there's that. And then, not trying to skip over a page here. All right, here is my 2025 so far in books, which I am listing each book as I read them in the order. And then you saw me using these 5-star rating stickers, and I'm coloring each of the stars in based on what I thought about the book, my personal opinion on it. So this is pretty basic. I just have the book name and the author, or the title of the book and the author, and then the 5 stars. I didn't choose to include anything else on this. And again, I have several pages of that to fill in. Because I'm listening to these books, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but I'm going through books a lot quicker than I would if I were to read them. But I just haven't found the time, or really haven't made the time to add reading into the list, as I like to listen to them while I'm crocheting and knitting and on the elliptical and things. So now back into the genres. So I thought it would be interesting to keep track of this year what genres I've been listening to. And as you could see, historical fiction is big on the list here. So I have a key set up here for all of the genres that I think I would be interested in reading, and then I also have another category in case I come up with something that is not in one of these categories. And I think it'll be interesting because I can see, like, okay, I've done a lot of historical fiction, a couple contemporary, and a couple memoirs and biographies. But like, I haven't done any mystery or thrillers or any, let's see, what else haven't I done? Nonfiction books. So I think it'll be interesting as I go along to maybe go, I should really try out a mystery or filler. So maybe, or thriller. So maybe that will be, the next book on my list or the next genre on my list to read. So we'll see how this goes, but I think it'd be interesting kind of snapshot too, to look back at the end of the year to see what I'm really drawn to, if you will. All right, and then here is my 2025 monthly stats, and basically I just have the number of books, the average rating, my favorite book, and then I've also again highlighted what genre that was, because again, if historical fiction happens to be my favorite genre of all of these months, then that's a good clue that I should, just continuing to listen to historical fiction, for example. So that is a look at the kind of monthly stats. That's what I wanted to keep track of. And then 2025 reading wrap up. This page is blank because obviously we're still very at the beginning of the year, but I thought I could, fill in a few things here about, maybe my all-time favorite book, my all-time favorite genre, things like that. So that is that. Let me pull the camera back here. All right, and then I'm gonna flip through and just show you here. The next several pages are just blank because again, I'm hoping to do this over the next several years. So leaving space for 2026, 2027, maybe even 2028 and so forth. And then skipping ahead, here is the knitting portion. And again, I've left the knitting cover blank. Haven't done this yet, but maybe I will pick you up when I do both of these covers again. All right, so after the cover page on the knitting, I have Big Knitting Dreams. And because I've just started knitting, and I could add crochet in here as well, I just use knitting as an overall arching kind of subject or topic. But because I've just started, I have a bunch of things that I want to attempt to do. Like, I would love to knit a textured sweater. I want to learn to cable knit. I want to learn color work, Fair Isle knitting, all of these various different things. And I can continue to add to this list. And I left boxes so that if I actually, do knit a textured sweater, I can check that box off. So that's kind of my big knitting dreams and goals overall. 2 pages there. And then I get into 2025 knitting goals. And I kind of went over this in a previous video, but basically I want to knit a pair of socks every month. So that's 12 pairs of socks. I want to knit a t-shirt. I want to finish the blanket that I am crocheting. I want to knit a cardigan. Use up a lot of the cotton yarn that I have in stash. I mainly have cotton yarn in stash. And I want to knit a sweater, and then I have left room for more if I decide to add more in there, if by any chance I finish these. And then on this next page next to this, I have the 2025 wrap up where again, I thought I could list my favorite pattern, you know, how, did I accomplish these goals, how they went, that type of thing. Flipping to the next couple pages, this is my 2025 monthly creative plans. So I can take each month and jot down what I plan to do. So like in January, I wanted to knit Matt a pair of neon socks, which I did. I wanted to start the Tolsta tee, which I did, and the Revelation blanket, continue on with that. And then I just, you know, drew a little neon striped sock in there just for fun. Moving down to February, I have the Valentine socks, which I knitted. I wanted to continue on with the Tolsta tee, which I did not, so I crossed that off. Continued on with the Revelation blanket, which I did, and then I added in this project here, which was a shawl for one of our neighbors. Then coming down to March, here are the things I want to do in March, and come to the end of this month, I'll, you know, let you know if I did or didn't accomplish them. So that's kind of the my monthly 2025 creative plans. Each month I can fill out the month and we'll see if I get anything accomplished in that month. Alright, and then much like the book area, the reading, listening area, I have a bunch of blank pages after this to, again, add in 2026 plans, 2027 plans, things like that. So flipping ahead to, let's see, I think, yes, flipping ahead to right here. Okay, this is what I'm calling a measurement guide. And basically I have a figure drawn out here along with a foot, a hand, and a head to get measurements off of. And then to go with these pages, I have these two pages which correspond. So for example, the head measurements, A is the circumference and B is length. And if I scroll down to this head, you see A and B here. And then same thing with the, you know, for mitten measurements, for sock measurements, and then this would be more for sweater measurements. And this also then corresponds to this figure and this drawing here. So my plan is, and I haven't got these filled out yet, but like I'm knitting, excuse me, Matt socks and myself socks. So I would have this filled out for Matt and I would have this filled out for myself. And then same thing with mittens, hats, and then sweaters. So eventually all of this will be filled out for myself and for Matt in theory. And then the next couple pages I would, like this, I have my measurements written across the top there. So I would glue these two papers down into here. And then, you know, perhaps I would skip a couple pages in case I wanted to add anything else in. And then I would go to maybe Matt's measurements. And then again, so I have a bunch of blank pages here for that in case I decide I want to knit, you know, other people things or things like that, or add in other different measurements. So then getting to this page, this is a patterns purchased page, which I haven't filled out yet because I did purchase a couple patterns already. But basically it's the pattern name, the designer, and then if I did actually finish this pattern or knit this pattern and or crochet this pattern. So it was just thought it would be an easy way to keep track of patterns that I've spent money on, that I've purchased, and then have I actually completed them, rather than, you know, if I want to knit a textured sweater and I've purchased that pattern, I should probably knit that pattern before going to purchase another textured sweater pattern. So that's what these two pages consist of. And I've left a couple pages blank in between some of these, just so maybe I want to start keeping track of yarn. Right now I don't have enough yarn, I don't think, to really warrant keeping track of it all. But you know, maybe I want to keep track of other things too. So I've left a couple pages blank here before we get into, sorry, this is hard to flip one-handed. Here we go. Before I get into project pages. So that's what these are. These are all going to be project pages. And these are starting with projects that I've done and or started in 2025. So I have the title of what I called the project up top. And this is an experiment, and I'll show you why it's an experiment here in a second. I thought it was initially a good idea, but basically I've taken the yarn and added some reinforcement with the washi tape, and then taken the yarn that I've used for the project and looped it through the paper. But I'll show you why I'm thinking that may or may not work here in a second. So each project has the title. So this is Matt's Neon Socks. And then I have the pattern name, the designer name, whether it was knit or crocheted, the gauge that I got, and the socks I didn't keep track, the size made, again, the socks I didn't keep track because I just know that, the rating for the pattern, the hook or needle size, and the level of difficulty that I thought it would be. And again, those star ratings are from that same star tape. And then I have the care instructions down. So then the next thing I have is the yarn brand that I used, the fiber that the yarn was, the weight, the dye lot, if there's such a dye lot, the color name, the amount used, and the rating of the yarn, because perhaps I had a different rating from the yarn than I had the pattern. Maybe I like the yarn but not the pattern, or vice versa. And then I have notes down here. You know, different things that the cast on method maybe, the different types of yarn I use, the amount of yarn, things like that. And then all the way at the bottom, I have the date I started it and the date I finished it. Same thing with this next project, and here is a good example of why I'm not sure punching through this and adding the yarn is going to work, because this is my Valentine's socks, but this yarn is from the project on the next page, which was Vicky's shawl. So I kind of liked the idea of trying to keep scraps of yarn, and I thought it would look, you know, I thought it would look fun sticking out of the top edge, but I'm not completely convinced, so we'll see. Oh, and I should also mention that these notes, I've put like, you know, circled things, and I've put like maybe little stars or dashes or something to signify if I went kind of off book on the pattern a bit. So that's what the note section is also for. And then some of these I have taped in the yarn bands, the yarn labels. These I did not, because I actually still have some of this yarn left over. So the leftover yarn I've kept with the yarn label and or band. That way I know if I go to use it from a year from now, I know what it is. So I think that's all I have to mention on these project pages here. If you want any further close-ups or have any other questions, definitely let me know down there below in the comments. And you can see I have all of these pages blank still for knitting patterns. So I'm hoping that maybe eventually I may fill up these pages with knitting patterns, knitting notes, things like that. And if I decide I want to add another section in, I can easily, you know, skip a few pages ahead, add a section in if I decide I don't want to use these for project pages or what you have you. The nice thing about the bullet journal is that it's blank and you can kind of fill it out how you would want to use it. So there you have it, the flip through of the journal. Thank you so much for coming along on this video. If you have any questions, let me know down there below in the comments. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. It truly does help me out. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.